So imagine a surgery that's so good at its job, it practically guarantees you won't have a major stroke. I mean, it's a real triumph of modern medicine. But what happens after that? After the immediate danger is gone, what does life look like 10, even 20 years down the line? Today, we're going to dive into a pretty fascinating medical detective story to find out exactly that.
Right, let's just put the main question right out there. You've had this incredibly effective surgery. You've dodged a huge bullet. But what's the next big threat to your health? What should you be worried about in the long run? Well, as researchers found out, the answer is probably not what you'd think.
Okay, first, a quick bit of background. The procedure we're talking about is called a carotid endarterectomy, or CEA for short. You can think of it like a super precise plumbing job for the main artery in your neck that feeds your brain. Surgeons literally go in and clean out all the gunk, the plaque, that could break loose and cause a really bad stroke.
So that's the surgery, and we know it works incredibly well. But here's the thing. That success actually created a brand new mystery for doctors.
And here's the heart of that mystery. For years, nobody really had a clear picture of what happened to these patients, way down the road. If the surgery fixed the main problem, what were the new risks they were facing? It was a huge knowledge gap, a case that really needed to be solved.
So to crack this case, a team of researchers launched a massive investigation. They used something called a meta-analysis, which is basically like being a detective and gathering every single piece of evidence from thousands of different crime scenes, putting it all in one room and looking for the hidden patterns.
And when I say massive, I am not kidding. Their first search pulled in more than 3,800 different studies. Can you just imagine a room buried under that many files? It's a huge amount of data to start with.
And this wasn't just a quick glance. They looked at 60 years of medical research. 60 years! They were sifting through all of it, looking for the most reliable clues about what happens to these patients long after they've left the hospital.
But from that entire mountain of paperwork, they managed to boil it all down to just 27. Just 27 studies that met their incredibly high standards. The answer to the whole mystery was hidden inside this small, elite group of reports.
So how on earth do you get from almost 4,000 down to 27? Well, they were ruthless. They only looked at the absolute gold standard of medical evidence, randomized controlled trials. You can think of these as the most trustworthy witnesses in any investigation, the ones that give you the clearest, most unbiased picture.
Okay, so what did all this hard work actually uncover? After digging through the data from those 27 key studies, a really clear picture started to form, revealing three main suspects responsible for what happens in the long term.
And here they are. This chart basically tells the story. The first thing that probably jumps out at you is that enormous slice for non-stroke cardiovascular. But what's almost as interesting is how tiny that stroke slice is. Let's break this down.
So this is the number one suspect, the main culprit. The biggest threat to these patients in the long run wasn't another stroke, it was other heart and blood vessel problems, things like heart attacks or heart failure. This was responsible for almost half of all deaths.
And coming in at number 2 was something that might be a little surprising: cancer. It was the cause of just under 1 in 5 deaths. It's a really important reminder that when we get better at solving one major health problem, other challenges can come to the forefront.
But here's the absolute best news from this whole investigation. Stroke, the very thing the surgery is designed to prevent, was only responsible for about 6% of deaths in the long run. This is just powerful, solid proof that this surgery really works, and its benefits last for a long time.
But wait, the detective story doesn't end there. The researchers didn't just look at what the causes were, they looked at when. And they found this fascinating twist in how things have changed over the decades.
So first, some great news. They found that deaths from those other heart-related problems have actually been going down over time. And that's a huge testament to modern medicine, right? We've just gotten so much better at treating things like high cholesterol and blood pressure.
But here's the other side of that coin. As one threat gets smaller, another one seems to grow. The proportion of deaths from cancer has actually been on the rise. And it kind of makes sense when you think about it. If people are living longer because their hearts are healthier, they just have more time to face other age-related diseases like cancer.
And what about stroke deaths? That rate has been remarkably steady. It hasn't really gone up, hasn't really gone down. This just reinforces the idea that the surgery itself has been consistently effective decade after decade. It does its job and keeps doing it.
So after sifting through all that evidence, running down all the leads, what's the final verdict? And maybe more importantly, what does solving this mystery mean for patients today?
Well, the researchers themselves put it perfectly. The big takeaway is that if we want to help these patients live even longer, healthier lives, we need to shift our focus. It's not just about preventing another stroke anymore, it's about managing their overall cardiovascular health.
And this leads to a really clear game plan for doctors and patients. Long-term care needs to be about the whole system. That means keeping a close eye on blood pressure, controlling cholesterol, managing diabetes, and using the best modern therapies to protect the entire heart and circulatory system, not just the one artery they operated on.
So, really, the solution to this whole medical mystery teaches us a pretty powerful lesson. A successful surgery isn't the finish line. For these patients, it's actually the start of a whole new journey that requires a much broader view of what it means to stay healthy for life. And that leaves us with one last big question to think about. This whole investigation proved how valuable it is to look beyond the one problem you just fixed. It really makes you wonder, what other medical breakthroughs are just sitting there waiting for us to find them if we just shift our focus from a single issue to the long-term health of the entire person?